Think you know everything about Discovery's biggest mining hit? From crew members who mysteriously vanished without a trace to a $1 million antique dredge that sank twice in 6 weeks, Gold Rush Harbor's secrets darker and stranger. These shocking behind-the-scenes revelations will make you question everything you thought you knew about reality TV's most lucrative treasure hunt. Fact 1. The Viking Fire Baptism Find. Tony Beets has always been known for his unconventional approach to gold mining. But in 2014, his crew took things to a whole new level with what they called a Viking baptism. The idea was supposedly to change the luck of their struggling gold dredge, which had been giving them problems all season long. So Tony and a couple of his crew members decided to pour gasoline directly into the pond surrounding their massive dredging operation and then light the entire thing on fire. The stunt created an impressive wall of flames that shot up from the water's surface, and Tony seemed pretty excited about the whole thing. As the fire blazed around his $1 million piece of equipment, he told his crew that he'd promised them he'd get results come hell or high water. And apparently this qualified as both. The entire incident was filmed for Gold Rush and made it onto the Discovery Channel, where Tony called it a Viking baptism meant to bring better fortune to their mining operation. Unfortunately for Tony, someone was watching the show who didn't find the fiery spectacle quite as entertaining as television audiences did. A viewer saw the episode and decided to report what they'd witnessed to Yukon's mining inspector, pointing out that dumping gasoline into natural water sources and setting it ablaze probably violated a few environmental protection laws. The authorities agreed, and Tony Beets and his company ended up getting slapped with $31,000 in fines for violating the Yukon Waters Act. When Tony appeared in Yukon Territorial Court in April of 2017, he admitted that as the person running the operation, he probably should have told his employee not to go through with the gasoline stunt. He described the whole incident as kind of a joke gone bad. But the hefty fine proved that environmental violations are no laughing matter, even when they make for good television. Fact 2. The scripted death announcement. When James Harness passed away in July of 2014, the Gold Rush production team faced a difficult situation about how to handle the news on the show. James had been a beloved member of the Hoffman crew during the first 2 seasons, serving as their mechanic and fix-it guy before being let go due to his struggles with pain medication following a severe car accident. His death from a stroke at age 57 was genuinely tragic news that hit the cast and crew hard. However, when viewers watched Season 5, Episode 8, titled Gold-Blooded, that December, something seemed very off about Todd Hoffman's announcement of James's death to his crew. The scene showed Todd gathering his team around a campfire after sundown, with everyone dressed in heavy winter jackets as he delivered the somber news about their former colleague passing away yesterday. But fans who paid close attention to the details quickly realized that the timeline didn't add up at all. If James had actually died the day before this conversation was filmed, the sun wouldn't have set until well after 1 o'clock in the morning during the peak mining season in the Yukon, and the crew certainly wouldn't have needed to wear heavy winter clothing in the middle of summer. The scene was clearly filmed months after James's actual death, with the production team scripting and staging what was supposed to appear like a spontaneous, emotional moment. This wasn't the first time the show had manipulated footage involving James Harness either. When he was originally fired from the crew, audio had been dubbed in after the fact, and only the back of James's head was shown during key moments. James himself later claimed that he wasn't even present at that meeting, as it was portrayed on television, and that Todd had edited the footage to make him look as bad as possible, showing just how far reality television will go to create compelling drama. Fact 3. The $1 million dredge that sank twice. Tony Beets' most prized possession is his massive Viking dredge, a 75-year-old floating industrial bucket dredge that he purchased for $1 million back in 2014. This enormous piece of equipment weighs 350 tons and was originally built in 1939, making it the only operating large-scale bucket dredge in all of North America. Tony calls it his ship, fitting for someone who earned the nickname the Viking, and he's invested years of work and millions more dollars into keeping this antique mining machine operational. But during one particularly disastrous 6-week period, Tony's $1 million investment turned into his worst nightmare when the massive dredge sank not once but twice. The first sinking was bad enough, but the second incident was especially frustrating because it was completely preventable and caused by human error rather than mechanical failure. The problem started when fine sand began plugging up the dredge's sluices during normal operations, causing sand and water to spill onto the deck beneath the equipment. This kind of thing can happen during mining, but what made the situation catastrophic was that the night crew had carelessly left the deck hatches open while they were working. With the hatches open, all that sand and water had nowhere to go except down into the pontoon that keeps the entire dredge floating. As the pontoon filled with sand and water, the massive machine began to sink lower and lower into the pond until it was partially submerged and completely out of commission. One of Tony's colleagues summed up the frustration perfectly when he said that seeing Tony's expensive machine sitting there like that was not a proud moment. Fortunately, the crew managed to pump out the pontoon using groundwater and water from their holding pond, and they even rotated the entire 350-ton machine 90 degrees to get it back into working position. But the costly delays set their mining operation back significantly. Fact 4. The production assistant who vanished. In October of 2018, a 26-year-old production assistant named Terrence Woods Jr. was working on the Gold Rush filming crew when he suddenly disappeared without a trace, creating one of the most baffling unsolved mysteries in reality television history. Terrence had been hired to work behind the cameras, helping with the day-to-day operations that keep a major television production running smoothly in the remote wilderness locations where Gold Rush is filmed. The timeline of Terrence's disappearance started normally enough when his father dropped him off at Reagan International Airport in Arlington, Virginia, on September 30, 2018. Terrence was heading out to join the Gold Rush production team for what should have been a routine filming assignment in the rugged terrain, where the show captures its dramatic mining operations. 4 days after arriving at his destination, Terrence sent a text message from his hotel, which turned out to be the last communication anyone would ever receive from him. What happened next remains completely unexplained, even years after the incident occurred. Terrence simply vanished from the filming location without leaving behind any clues about where he might have gone or what might have happened to him. Despite extensive searches and investigations by both local authorities and the production company, no trace of Terrence Woods Jr. has ever been found. His personal belongings, any potential witnesses to his last known whereabouts, and even basic details about his final day on set have yielded no useful information that might explain his sudden disappearance. The case has become Gold Rush's most disturbing unsolved mystery, casting a shadow over the production and leaving Terrence's family without answers about what happened to their son. The fact that someone can simply disappear without a trace while working on a major television production, surrounded by crew members and equipment in a documented location, makes this case all the more puzzling and concerning for everyone involved with the show. Fact 5. The bear-killing graham cracker incident. Mining for gold in the remote wilderness of Alaska and the Yukon means that the Gold Rush crews regularly encounter local wildlife, including the large population of bears that call these regions home. Most experienced outdoorsmen know the basic rules of bear safety, especially the important guideline about never leaving food out where bears can easily access it, since this attracts the animals to human campsites and creates potentially dangerous situations for everyone involved. Unfortunately, it seems that some members of the relatively inexperienced Gold Rush mining crews didn't get this memo about proper food storage in bear country. During one particular incident that was captured on the show, someone had carelessly left graham crackers accessible around the mining camp, which naturally attracted a curious bear looking for an easy snack. When the bear wandered close to the site to investigate the sweet treats, the miners became spooked by the animal's presence and decided they needed to take immediate action. Instead of following standard bear safety protocols, which typically involve making noise to scare the animal away, securing all food sources, or using bear spray as a deterrent, crew member Mike Halstead made the decision to track down the bear and shoot it. This reaction was both unnecessary and illegal, since the bear wasn't displaying any aggressive behavior toward the humans and was simply doing what bears naturally do when they smell food in their territory. The killing of the bear violated wildlife protection laws since the animal posed no immediate threat to the crew, and the situation could have been easily prevented with proper food storage practices that any experienced camper would know to follow. The incident highlighted just how unprepared some of the Gold Rush miners were for working in genuine wilderness conditions where encounters with local wildlife are a normal part of daily life that require knowledge and respect rather than fear and violence to handle safely and legally. Fact 6. The 1,350 diamond mining disaster. The Hoffman crew's expedition to Guyana in South America during Season 4 of Gold Rush stands as one of the most spectacular failures in the show's entire history. But the disaster reached truly embarrassing levels when Todd Hoffman made a desperate last-ditch attempt to salvage something from the costly venture. After spending hundreds of thousands of dollars to transport their heavy mining equipment through trackless jungle to a remote site that could only be reached by hiking after a dangerous river passage, the crew discovered that their ambitious gamble had backfired completely. By the end of their grueling season in the South American rainforest, the Hoffman crew had managed to extract only 2 measly ounces of gold from all their expensive efforts, which was nowhere near enough to cover the enormous costs of importing and operating heavy machinery in such a challenging location. The expenses of the Guyana operation had wiped out all the gains from their previous successful season, leaving Todd Hoffman facing near bankruptcy and an uncertain future for his mining operation. Faced with this financial catastrophe, Todd decided to make one final attempt to find something valuable before abandoning the site entirely. He had earlier purchased a $20,000 diamond mining jig with the help of a local guide named Tony Melville, and in an act of pure desperation, Todd proclaimed that diamonds would be a game-changer for their operation. The crew pivoted from gold mining to diamond hunting, hoping that precious gems might save them from complete disaster. Unfortunately, their diamond mining efforts proved to be even more pathetic than their gold recovery. After all their additional time and effort spent searching for diamonds, the crew managed to collect gems worth exactly $1,350. This laughably small amount was worth even less than the 2 ounces of gold they had already found, making their South American adventure one of the most expensive and humiliating failures ever documented on reality television. Fact 7. The pain pill addiction cover-up. Behind the scenes of Gold Rush's early seasons, a serious and largely hidden problem was affecting multiple cast members who had developed dangerous dependencies on prescription painkillers. The physically demanding nature of gold mining, combined with the use of heavy machinery and the remote locations where medical care wasn't easily available, created conditions where injuries were common and pain management became a significant issue for several crew members. James Harness, who served as the Hoffman crew's mechanic during the first 2 seasons, became the most visible example of this problem after a severe car accident years before joining the show left him with massive spinal injuries and chronic pain. Unable to afford the surgery he needed to repair his back, James relied heavily on prescription pain medication to manage his constant agony, which gradually developed into a serious addiction that affected his ability to work reliably. James's struggles with pain pills were documented on the show, where viewers could see him dealing with incredible physical discomfort that sometimes left him unable to move or work effectively. His addiction became one of the contributing factors to his termination from the Hoffman crew after the 2nd season, when Todd Hoffman fired him for excessive absences and unreliability that were directly related to his dependency on the medication. Tragically, James wasn't the only cast member dealing with painkiller addiction, and his story didn't end well after leaving the show. When he left Gold Rush, his troubles with addiction continued and actually got worse over time. In July of 2014, James Harness died at age 57 from a stroke, and his years of prescription drug dependency were believed to have contributed to the health complications that ultimately led to his death. The show's producers later revealed his passing to audiences during Season 5, but the full extent of the addiction problems among cast members remained largely hidden from public view. Fact 8. The 4 film crews spread 600 miles. Most viewers watching Gold Rush at home have no idea just how massive and complex the production operation actually is behind the scenes. with Discovery Channel deploying 4 separate film crews spread across an incredible 600 miles of remote wilderness to capture all the mining actions simultaneously. This enormous logistical undertaking means that camera operators, sound technicians, and production staff are working in some of the most challenging and isolated locations on the continent, often hundreds of miles away from the nearest town or medical facility. Each of these 4 crews operates independently while following different mining teams across the vast expanses of Alaska and the Yukon Territory, documenting every twist and turn of the various mining operations as they unfold in real time. The crews have to haul their expensive filming equipment across rough terrain, set up in locations where there's no electricity or running water, and capture professional quality footage, despite dealing with extreme weather conditions that can range from blazing summer heat to bone-chilling cold, depending on the season. The 600-mile span that these production teams cover is roughly equivalent to the distance from New York City to Charlotte, North Carolina, except instead of traveling on highways between major cities, they're navigating through trackless wilderness, where a broken-down vehicle or equipment failure could leave them stranded for days. The camera crews face many of the same dangers as the miners themselves, including encounters with wild animals, equipment accidents, and the constant risk of being injured while working around massive mining machinery in remote locations where help might be hours or even days away. This massive production effort requires careful coordination and planning to ensure that all 4 crews can communicate with each other and with the main production offices, despite being scattered across a territory larger than most entire states. The dedication and skill required to pull off this kind of filming operation in such harsh and remote conditions is a testament to just how much work goes into creating each episode of Gold Rush. Fact 9. The courtside Lakers scandal. Parker Schnabel has spent years on Gold Rush constantly talking about being on the verge of bankruptcy, regularly telling viewers that he's struggling financially and might lose everything if his mining operations don't start producing more gold. Throughout multiple seasons, Parker has emphasized how desperate his financial situation has become, especially during his ambitious $15 million investment in the Dominion Creek claim, where he's been chasing what he claims could be $160 million worth of gold buried in the frozen ground. However, sharp-eyed fans started noticing something that didn't quite add up with Parker's claims of financial hardship when photos began circulating on social media showing him sitting courtside at Los Angeles Lakers games. Courtside seats at Lakers games are among the most expensive tickets in professional sports, often costing tens of thousands of dollars per game, and they're typically reserved for celebrities, business executives, and other wealthy individuals who can afford to spend that kind of money on entertainment. The contrast between Parker's on-screen persona of a struggling young miner who's constantly worried about going broke and his apparent ability to afford premium Lakers tickets raised serious questions among Gold Rush fans about whether his financial desperation was genuine or manufactured for dramatic effect. Social media users began pointing out this contradiction, with one fan commenting that homie was courtside at the Laker game the other day. He's chillin', suggesting that Parker's financial situation might not be as dire as the show portrays. This revelation sparked broader discussions among viewers about how much of the drama on Gold Rush is real versus scripted for television, with many fans noting that Discovery Channel likely provides significant financial backing for the mining operations, making Parker's claims of near bankruptcy seem questionable at best. The courtside Lakers incident became a perfect example of how reality television stars sometimes live very different lives off camera than what they present to their audiences during filming. Fact 10. The fake prison sentence viral videos. In April and May of 2025, a completely fabricated story about Parker Schnabel being sentenced to life in prison spread like wildfire across social media platforms, fooling hundreds of thousands of viewers who believed they were watching legitimate news coverage. The fake story began when a YouTube channel called Top Rewind published a video on April 27th with the shocking title Parker Schnabel from Gold Rush Sentenced to Life Imprisonment, which featured what appeared to be a Fox News broadcast announcing this devastating news. The video quickly gained traction across multiple platforms, with TikTok users sharing clips that accumulated more than 700,000 combined views within just a few weeks. The fake story spread to Facebook, Twitter, and other social media sites where concerned fans shared the news without realizing they were helping to spread completely false information about their favorite Gold Rush star. What made this misinformation campaign particularly sophisticated was that the videos used artificial intelligence technology to create realistic-looking news broadcasts and voice narration that sounded convincing to casual viewers. The fake story claimed that Parker had been convicted in one of the most shocking environmental cases in mining history and described his supposed crimes as involving dozens of willful environmental violations related to his gold mining operations. The videos even included an altered or synthetic content disclaimer, but many viewers either didn't notice this warning or didn't understand what it meant. The AI-generated script told a fictional story about Parker's gold empire being halted cold, and described how he was facing life imprisonment with no parole, no appeals left. Some versions of the fake story even suggested that Parker had vanished from the spotlight and might be in protective custody rather than actually serving a prison sentence. The widespread belief in these completely fabricated videos highlighted how easily modern AI technology can be used to create convincing fake news that spreads rapidly across social media, even when the stories are entirely fictional and about well-known public figures. Fact 11. The 28-per-hour crew revelation. Most Gold Rush viewers have always wondered exactly how much money the crew members actually make for all their back-breaking work in the remote wilderness, and Parker Schnabel surprised everyone when he decided to answer that question directly by jumping into a discussion on the Gold Rush subreddit. In a rare moment of complete transparency, Parker responded to a user who was questioning the wages his crew receives, providing detailed information about the pay structure that most reality television shows would never reveal publicly. According to Parker's Reddit explanation, most people who join his crew start at $28 per hour, which might sound reasonable until you factor in the incredibly demanding work schedule that gold mining requires. Parker revealed that his crew members typically work around 75 hours per week during the mining season, which means they're putting in more than double the hours of a standard full-time job, often in harsh weather conditions and dangerous situations involving heavy machinery. When you calculate the math based on Parker's numbers, including overtime pay for all those extra hours beyond a normal 40-hour work week, crew members earn approximately $2,590 in gross pay each week. Parker explained that the mining season usually lasts about 25 weeks, which means a starting employee can expect to earn around $65,000 in gross earnings before bonuses during a single season. However, Parker also mentioned that crew members have the opportunity to earn what he described as significant bonuses based on their performance and the success of the mining operation, though he didn't specify exactly how much these bonuses typically amount to. He also pointed out that crew members don't have to pay for housing or food while they're working on site, which helps offset some of their living expenses and makes the overall compensation package more attractive than the base salary might initially suggest to potential workers. Fact 12. The only operating gold dredge. Tony Beat's massive Viking dredge holds a unique distinction that most Gold Rush viewers probably don't realize, as it's actually the only operating large-scale bucket dredge in all of North America, making it a genuine piece of living industrial history. This enormous floating machine was originally built in 1939 and represents a type of gold mining technology that was commonly used during the late 1800s and early 1900s, but has since been almost completely abandoned in favor of more modern mining methods. The dredge works using a continuous chain of steel buckets that scoop material from the bottom of waterways and process it through a series of screens and sluices to separate gold from dirt and rocks. This bucket line system was the cutting-edge technology of its era, allowing miners to process massive amounts of material much more efficiently than they could with hand tools or smaller equipment. During its heyday, this type of dredge could operate 24 hours a day and process hundreds of cubic yards of material every hour. When Tony purchased the 350-ton machine for $1 million, it had been sitting unused for 27 years and hadn't operated since 1988, when gold prices dropped and made this type of large-scale operation unprofitable. The bucket chain had actually rusted together from decades of inactivity, and Tony had to invest months of work and additional money to get the antique equipment functioning again. What makes Tony's achievement even more remarkable is that he's essentially resurrected a mining method that hasn't been in common use in Dawson City for half a century, proving that old technology can still be effective when properly maintained and operated. The dredge can run much longer seasons than traditional mining operations, potentially operating for 7 or 8 months compared to the typical 5-month season that most Klondike miners work, giving Tony a significant advantage in his gold recovery efforts. Fact 13. The reshoot reality problem. Unlike many reality television shows that film continuously for hours and then edit down the footage to create compelling episodes, Gold Rush takes a more selective approach to filming that sometimes creates problems when important conversations or decisions happen when the cameras aren't rolling. The production team can't possibly capture every moment of the mining operations, since they're spread across multiple remote locations with limited crew members, which means they inevitably miss some of the action that would be important for viewers to understand the full story. When the cameras miss a crucial conversation or decision that happened off-camera during the night or between filming sessions, the producers have developed a standard solution that fundamentally changes the nature of what viewers are actually watching. The production team will approach the cast members and feed the lines back to them, asking them to recreate the conversation or announcement as if it's happening for the first time, even though the actual discussion may have taken place hours or even days earlier. This practice means that many of the conversations and dramatic moments that viewers see on Gold Rush are essentially scripted recreations of real events, rather than genuine spontaneous interactions. If a cast member delivers a line poorly during the reshoot, or if the producers want to capture the scene from a different angle, they'll simply film the scene multiple times until they get the version that works best for television, treating the reality show more like a scripted drama with multiple takes. Series producer Ed Gorsuch has openly acknowledged that this happens regularly, explaining that it can be difficult to keep audiences engaged with a show about guys who dig the ground and wash rocks and look for little bits of metal without creating compelling storylines and character moments. The practice raises questions about how much of what viewers see is genuine reality versus carefully constructed television entertainment, even when the basic facts and outcomes of the mining operations themselves remain authentic. Fact 14. The spin-off Empire explosion. What started as a single reality show about unemployed men from Oregon trying their luck at gold mining has grown into Discovery Channel's most successful franchise empire, with Gold Rush spawning an incredible 8 different spin-off series that explore various aspects of mining and treasure hunting. This massive expansion has turned the original concept into a television universe that dominates Discovery's programming schedule and attracts millions of viewers across multiple shows throughout the year. The spin-off explosion began with Gold Rush Whitewater, which follows the dangerous underwater mining adventures of Dustin Hurt and originally his father Dakota Fred, as they dive into whitewater rapids and plunge pools to search for gold in some of Alaska's most treacherous locations. Parker's Trail takes viewers on international adventures as Parker Schnabel travels to places like Guyana, Papua New Guinea, Australia, and New Zealand to explore different mining techniques and learn about gold rushes around the world. Freddie Dodge's Mine Rescue has become one of the most popular spin-offs, featuring the Gold Rush veteran as he travels across North America, helping struggling amateur miners fix their operations and actually find gold. Dave Turin's Lost Mine followed the former Hoffman crew member as he explored abandoned mines throughout the American West, while other spin-offs have included Winter's Fortune, Hoffman Family Gold, and various special episodes and aftershows. The success of these spin-offs demonstrates just how much appetite audiences have for mining-related content, with each show offering a different perspective on the challenges and excitement of searching for precious metals. Some focus on the extreme physical dangers of mining, others emphasize the technical problem-solving aspects, and still others explore the historical and international dimensions of gold hunting. Together, these 8 spin-offs have created a year-round programming block that keeps Gold Rush content on the air almost continuously, making it one of the most extensive reality television franchises in cable